In this video then guys, I take a look at the 2013 animated Pixar movie Monsters University, which is the prequel to the Monsters Inc. movie made in 2001. So without further ado then, let's get into today's Pixar movie review. Let's get into it. So I thought then that this prequel is probably one of the best prequels that I've ever seen. As we know from watching prequels in the past, likes of Phantom Menace, even the likes of Puss in Boots, there is question marks about how good they actually are, and that there is a few doubts as to whether or not they are needed, or whether or not they actually do anything that the normal series doesn't already do, or the prequels just didn't live up to the expectations of the original movies, and that didn't happen in this scenario. I think Monsters University really shone, as I think this movie really gives us an insight into how Mike and Sulley actually became friends, as at the start we can see that there's trouble between the two, and that they didn't actually get along, whereas in Monsters Inc. they hit it off straight away like that. In this scenario, they don't. They actually didn't like each other at first, and their first meeting is where basically Sulley destroys his bedroom with a pig and causes some right problems between the two. And there's a lot of jealousy between the two until they work out their problems towards the end, which we'll get onto a bit later on. However, I really thought this was pretty good between the two, and I definitely thought this explained a lot of who they are, how did they get to Monsters Incorporated, and how did they become the top scarers. I thought that the biggest shock out of the Monsters University movie then was actually Randall, as he was actually confirmed to be a nerd in this movie and was actually living in the same quarters as Mike Wazowski, and in the same, and were like best friends at the start of the movie. And it was sort of a shock, because we're seeing the guy in Monsters Inc. being this arrogant, nasty, horrible person to the likes of Sulley, to the likes of Mikey, and we see why, because he is just an average nerd, and then gets taken on by the cool kids, and then we see at the end of Monsters Inc. that we don't know what happens with him. And obviously I think that what does happen is he wins the scare program, wins a chance to go to Monsters Incorporated and becomes the top scarer. However, Sulley and Mikey have had to work their way up into the Monsters Incorporated by working in the mailroom cafeteria and then earning their place where they deserve. And I think that's probably how it all works out in the end. But that little thing of between Randall being a nerd and him becoming quite arrogant shows the different character development between the two, and that something must happen in that middle part for them either to hate each other dramatically, as we know that they go on different teams, as the O Kappa goes against the Roar, I think it's called. And I think that between the two, I think there must have been a falling out of some sort, because I know that Randall wanted to be with the cool kids, and maybe the cool kids sort of changed him into this arrogant character that we see in Monsters Inc. Maybe. Finally then, I thought that the actors and actresses were superb, as we saw the likes of John Goodman, Billy Crystal, Steve Buscemi, Helen Mirren, Peter Sohn, Joel Murray. We saw the likes of Sean Hayes, David Foley, Charlie Day, Alfred Molina, John Krasinski and John Ratzenberger, and they were all brilliant. We know about how good John Goodman and Billy Crystal are, as we've reviewed them in Monsters Inc.'s movie review, so if you haven't already, check that out in the description. But yeah, we've already reviewed them, so I think that wasn't a shock how good they were. I think Alfred Molina was a pleasant sort of character that I didn't expect to be in this movie, but he did a good job as the teacher. I also think the likes of Helen Mirren was brilliant. She was outstanding. To summarise Monsters University then, I think that this was a 8.6 out of 10 and an absolute classic film, due to the nature that this prequel is probably the best prequel ever made, as there's not many good prequels out there, and especially everyone shits on Phantom Menace in the Star Wars trilogy. Puss in Boots is definitely not on the level as Monsters University, so I can only think that this is probably the best prequel out there currently. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below, what your thoughts are. Is it one of the best? Let me know down in the comments, please. Also, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content this channel creates, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Later.